flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We need to accept the minutes from last meeting.
I make a motion we accept the minutes of August 1st as presented.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have some special guests here tonight. I know John LaFleche. I don't know you personally, so right there, okay. And who else is with you?
Don Monville, he's our vocational director at BayPath.
Okay, and you are the BayPath superintendent.
Yes.
So we had some, yes, come on up. We had expressed some interest in trying to reach out to the schools, both BayPath and Shepherd Hill, and to try to get agriculture interest to some of the students, and some of the students' interest at agriculture in Dudley.
Right.
So we were wondering if you would have some suggestions.
Well, thank you for having us, and we're very pleased to be here. As I said, Mr. Monville is the vocational coordinator. We have right now at BayPath 22 vocations. And in point of fact, last Tuesday, the school committee gave us the go-ahead. We're going to be attempting to add our 23rd, which is called by the state Animal Science, and it's focused on veterinary assisting.
Oh.
So if it goes through, we'll be working all year with the state. There's a two-pronged process. We will open in the fall a veterinary assisting program, and we will actually be teaming with a veterinary hospital that will be opening in our area. So we don't have space on the campus at BayPath. Even though we have almost 200 acres of land, the only usable land is on the top of a little hill, and we've taken almost all of it now. But what would happen is that would be a program where students would actually, we'd have a classroom at the veterinarian hospital, and students would rotate in there. Their shop program would be working with the veterinarians at that hospital. What I did in this, good evening, how are you? Let's see.
Good to see you.
Same here. I brought you a very basic sheet of paper that I thought maybe we could talk about briefly, and then hear some of your ideas. We have a couple of ideas to at least begin trying to achieve what you just mentioned, okay? But what I brought you, and you can look this up on the website as well, at the top of the page it shows you, anything that a vocational or an agricultural school teaches has to be approved by the Commonwealth of Mass Department of Education. And in each of those, they have what they call frameworks. So the frameworks are actually 4 years' worth of curriculum that spell out what has to be taught to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There's various clusters, okay, of programs, one of which is agriculture and natural resources. Now, I'm sure you might be familiar with the fact that across the state, when they set this whole system up, they have agricultural high schools, which really get into the programs that relate to this commission, okay? So you have them at Norfolk, Aggie, you have one up at Essex Tech, which is up in the north part of the state. You have Smith Vocational. Am I missing one? Norfolk, Aggie, and
No, I think
Bristol County has one.
So they got one in the southeast, the northeast. Norfolk Aggie is also northeast?
Norfolk is probably like Middlesex, isn't that? Right in the, yeah,
And Smith is where, out west?
Northampton.
Nothing in central Mass?
Nothing in central Mass. And we spoke with Ann Goby several years ago. We tried to get an agricultural program going through the state with Tufts Hospital. And that would have had a couple of components to it. So it would have done the large animals. I was saying before you got here, I don't know if you heard, But on Tuesday, the school committee voted to allow us to set up a veterinary, what is it called? I'm sorry.
Assistant.
Veterinary assistant program. So we're going to be working with a veterinary hospital and actually have a Chapter 74 vocational program off-site.
Will that be Tufts, more than likely?
No, it's going to be
Second chance.
Second Chance Animal Shelter out of North Brookfield, but they have hospitals in Springfield and Worcester, and they're going to be bringing one to one of our 10 towns.
You know where yet? Or-
Well, they're in the process of examining property, but I've
Okay.
got to say, part of their mission, they're a little different than, let's say, a regular veterinarian or a regular veterinary hospital. They focus on low-income folks. So, as you know, a lot of people, whether they have high incomes or low incomes, have pets, they love their pets. So folks can come to their facilities and get charged a lot less than a regular veterinarian based on their income.
John, do you have any idea where they're looking?
Southbridge primarily, okay? I'm sure, again, that they would, they haven't gotten a place yet, but if you, for example, had something in mind, we can put you in touch and let them know that something's available. I know that they have a couple of buildings that they've been looking at, and we don't want to talk about those for the simple reason that supply and demand, But,
Let me interrupt for a second,
Yes.
as I always do,
that's okay.
with your indulgence. The old Smart Plaza on West Main is now completely vacant. And I think that's a property that Tom Chinaki owns. All right, so if that's, in terms of a building that's there, the shell, I don't know what the back is like, but it may be a lot larger than what they need. So as you know, there was a house there, and in front you've got that large rectangular, what the Smart Plaza was, and the other store there.
It used to be Old Grand Furniture.
Yeah, his, Tom Chinaki's wife ran that Smart Plaza and then closed it down, and it's the second one. So at some point, this group will need to, I would say quickly, see if that is available, and if so, then we'd ask John who to get in touch with,
Right.
just to ask them to look.
Well, if, before we go, if we get either, I'm assuming you're the chair?
Yes.
Okay. Either your email address, or I certainly have yours, Paul. We can get you the contact information for the folks that run this particular facility.
Perfect.
They have a real estate agent that they're working with, and we're staying out of that piece, in terms of them deciding where they're going to go as long as it's in the district.
Okay.
Okay? And I will say this, that we have committed that if they find a suitable location, Bay Path will help them renovate the facility. So our plan is, and Dawn, if I'm misspeaking, jump in here, but it looks like our plan is that if we open the program next year, freshmen would probably be taught, at least for part of the year, if not the whole year, at Bay Path in a classroom. And we will spend that year with our forces renovating whatever facility they get.
That's nice.
They know that there are certain things that we would advise them to get professionals to do, but most of it we can do. And it gives all of our other programs experience, and because as you might have seen 2 years ago, we renovated 7,000 square feet at Bartlett High School.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, I'm jealous because it came out even better than the renovations we did at Bay Path with the professionals. So we're capable of doing that, and that's what we've promised to do. And then we'll be in that veterinary assistant program. So that's one part of what you're talking about. But I think the other part that you mentioned to me, Paul, and I think the chairman has said this briefly tonight, is getting kids interested in agriculture, okay? So the sheet I gave you shows you the breakdown at a high level of what the state approves. Unfortunately, we don't have the facilities to open one of these programs other than this veterinary assisting program because we're partnering with this group. We looked at building a building, for example, for the veterinary hospital. It would have cost us over $7 million between the grading, the prevailing wage, and the bid laws, it would have cost us over $7 million. There was no way we could ask the towns for that kind of money. So this is going to work out good. But some of the thoughts we had, we do have what's called a building and property maintenance group. And those students are learning all kinds of property maintenance issues, and their program kind of lends into horticulture, that kind of thing. And I know some of you, or some of the group, have farms, which, you know, would have some elements in these programs. So I think Dawn and I were thinking that if we could work with you to get some, like, day-long programs at folks' farms, we'd be willing to set that up. So you'd have 10 to 20 kids come out. We'd have to coordinate it so there's a program for them. And then maybe they can do some hands-on items at the facilities. But we would need the owners or the farmers to also explain to them, what is it like? What is it to be a farmer? Most students don't know that, you know?
No, we have farmers in the audience and up here that have been looking for opportunity to share that with the students.
And the group that we're thinking of are the type of students that we feel, anyway, not all of them, obviously, but would enjoy that. And I don't know what the employment opportunities are, for example, in Dudley on farms, but if there were employment opportunities, we could, and I had hoped to have my co-op director with us this evening, but he had to go to another meeting, but we have what's called cooperative education. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but every other week, the student goes to work. They have to be paid minimum wage, but they're there for the whole week, and they're learning a trade. Now, agriculture is a trade, and like I say, it would fit into this program. So that's a possibility as well, if folks are looking for help.
So with this new program, you would be able to do a co-op with this?
Go ahead.
Are we talking about the veterinary assistant?
Yes.
Yes. Eventually, those kids will be eligible to go on co-op. Midway through the junior year is the time that they are eligible to go on co-op. So they'll work midway through the junior year in the senior year. Instead of coming to school, they go to work every other week.
But we even have this other program, it's called Building and Property Maintenance.
Oh, okay.
Those kids, that's a full program that's been up and running. We have kids in there that would be eligible to go out on a co-op in an agricultural setting or a farm setting, or...
There's a lot of property maintenance on farms.
Right. And some of them are even good with equipment maintenance. Okay, they may not, you know, they'll need some help, but for example, in their program, we have a lot of tractors and so forth that they're learning to use, so they're perfectly capable of using tractors and farm equipment, but also may be able to learn how to repair it.
You actually have an automotive technical senior this year who's co-oping on his parents' farm.
Okay. What's his name?
Curtis Kepke.
Okay. I don't know all 1,150 students, but that's the beauty of Bay Path. We can work out these co-ops. So maybe there's another student in automotive that wants to get into
Just
mechanical.
because there was no ag mechanics.
Right.
So.
And you'll see on this sheet, there is ag mechanics as a program, but people think, okay, the vocational school goes out, they'll teach whatever they want to teach, and no, it's very regimented. Dawn will work the next 12 months just trying to get this veterinary program off the ground. The state will visit us at least 3 times. We have to put together what's called the committee, an advisory committee. So our advisory committee for that one, we're going to have veterinarians on the program. We're mandated to have college representatives from the colleges on those programs. So it's not as simple as saying, okay, now we're going to teach agriculture. But within that other program, there's no question that to begin with, if we put together 3 or 4, now you may have somebody who's beekeeping out there, for example, and selling honey and products like that as a business. So if that person were willing to say, okay, we're going to do a 2-hour program explaining to these kids, and what's the formal term for beekeeping? Apiary. I was going to say topiary, but it's apiary. Okay. But I bet you these kids have never heard that word, apiary. Okay? So if your members and farmers and so forth were willing to donate their time to do that, I'm sure we will find some kids who would be interested in learning more in depth.
This co-op that you spoke of. Does that have to be with one facility, or can it be, quote, farming co-op, where they would go to different local farms, meaning growing edibles? Yeah, or we have a number of folks who have animals. And I see where you've got, down here, you've got animal services,
Science.
animal science. So could we develop with you a co-op that might include at some point going to 3 or 4 or 5 different places, or does it all have to be one?
Right now, for us to send a student on a co-op assignment, that employee has to have insurance.
Yep.
So that's one thing right there. So typically, the ones that we've sent out do all go to one person, one employer. So you got a good question, but I'm not sure. We'd have to investigate that a little bit, make sure that we're following the guidelines. Again, just like everything else at vocational schools, the state gives us guidelines that we have to follow for these co-op students. They have to work 30 hours. Mr. LaFlash said they have to be paid minimum wage. So there's a bunch of guidelines that we have to follow.
Our goal, if I may, our goal with the Agricultural Commission is to foster hands-on and appreciation of growing edibles and animal husbandry. All right, to foster that education and to begin to attract or potentially attract future farmers and future animal husbandry.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the term,
Not
but
either. That's all
I mean,
right.
we've got, right now, Dudley has 4,005 acres. Dudley.
Yeah.
That's in agricultural protection or use. That's a lot.
Right. So from my perspective, listening to that, I mean, really the first steps is to putting together some programs at these folks, getting the kids out there. When you start talking about, for example, working with animals, that is very highly regulated from our end
Yeah.
through the state. So for example, when we were at Tufts, and I knew nothing about agriculture at the time, or animal husbandry, the regulations on how often an animal can be handled in an educational setting is highly regulated, and there's a plan that has to be filed, which is called an IACUC plan. And that plan has to say, okay, this cow is only going to be touched by 5 individuals over the course of a 2-day period. So we have to, in order to have kids there permanently, you'd have to be we'd have a lot of work to do. But my suggestion is to get them to even be exposed to it, where they do get the spark that says, hey, this is something I want to look into. Right now, I'm sorry to say, in my opinion, most of our students, unless they're coming from one of your farms, have no clue about what's happening on farms, and so we need to get them exposed to it first.
Let me tell you a couple quick ideas, and I want to ask you a question, John.
Done.
I want to ask you a question about the insurance. What type of insurance are you talking about?
Workers' comp,
Workers' comp.
yes.
So if they go out on a cooperative program, they would need to be covered by workers' comp.
Yes.
Let me just
You're paying,
suggest.
you gotta get workers' comp for everyone you pay, so.
What are you doing down there? You should come up here and sit over here, we can see you. You got the biggest farmland going there in terms of vegetables. What we might want to do, and I don't know if it's feasible, but if you can think of it, it can be done. To see if we can't get a donor who would arrange to provide workers' comp insurance for any farmer or landowner who want to participate in a co-op. In other words, get a blanket policy. It would be a John Doe policy, which I think you could do, and it would, in effect, cover everybody, but it would cover 3 incidents or 4 incidents if there were issues. So that's something we can look at in terms of cost.
Before you
think
go
it's a
down
way
that
out.
road, let us get to you We'll send it over. Again, get me maybe your name and address, and I can get this to you.
We should be on the website now with the board's,
I'll make sure you get it. I'll fax it over.
So
to you.
what we'll do, Don, I'll ask you to do this tomorrow, is talk to Chris, and we'll get you a packet of information that details everything that's required for a co-op employer. Now, the idea of, banding together, I won't say that it's not feasible, but it would have to meet all of those requirements
Yeah.
that we send out.
I've got a question, sorry to jump in from the back.
Come over here and
I guess I
talk
gotta
into the
move
mic.
around,
Sit all by himself.
I have a question too for you, and, all right?
So, I'm a vegetable farmer,
Yep.
and it turns out that between November and March, there isn't a lot of vegetable growing.
Yes,
done
not in this region, anyway.
In Dudley, maybe a little. And obviously, the farm season and the school season are opposite for a reason.
Yep.
And so then it leads me to, these co-ops are limited to the school year, or is there some flexibility around that?
Go ahead.
We do have a summer co-op program where the students can stay on co-op.
Okay.
When they finish when school finishes in June, whatever that date is.
Whenever it is, yeah.
We have a summer co-op program, and it covers the days through the summer until school resumes in the fall.
Okay. Because, frankly, in January,
Right.
there's not much
Right.
I can have
So
them do.
there's a possibility, for example, you start a co-op with a student in March, let's say.
yeah.
I'm assuming that might be when you're doing
Oh, yeah,
summer.
we got a lot of stuff going on in
Okay.
March. We're busy in March.
And so that co-op goes from March till the end of the school year, and
And
then
then maybe
there's a
stays
summer
close.
co-op.
Right.
Now, the co-op experience is up to the student. If the student wants a co-op that's going to be the entire school year, they're not going to be interested in that.
Exactly.
But there are some students, again, that may want something like that in March through the summer.
Typically, how long does an in-session co-op run for? How many weeks? If there is such a thing.
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean by in
What do you mean?
session.
No, what he's saying, so a
During the school
junior,
year.
a junior can start in February,
Yeah.
and once they're on co-op, they can be on co-op the entire school year.
Is there a minimum, is there a minimum that the co-op can run for?
30 hours a week, the student has to be paid for 30 hours a week.
Okay.
In theory, but again, 90% of the students are going to want a co-op that's going to last the whole year, the whole school year,
Right.
especially when they're seniors. They can't when they're juniors. So in essence, a junior who might be interested in a program with a farm starts in March and goes through, let's say, August,
Right.
and then they come back to school. They could go, because they're starting right now, the seniors are starting back.
Right.
So they could go from August to whenever you're thinking. But they need to know that in advance, that once November gets here,
How far ahead, John, does that have to be done? Do you suggest that anything that we ultimately propose, how far ahead does that need to be done prior to a school year? The end of the previous?
you mean
year?
getting somebody, or, I'm not,
Setting up a program.
well, if we're gonna set something up, depending on if it's this multi thing, you're gonna have to come in early and speak to Chris Fauscher. If there's gonna be more than one, to see if that can even be done. But this gentleman, maybe he has a farm big enough to hire a student, that can be done within two or three weeks. As long as, the workers' comp is in place, and you've got work for the young person, and it's gonna be a consistent deal, then that takes 2 weeks.
So we don't ever run out of things to do.
And
Anything.
we send out someone to do
Right.
a inspection
Oh,
of
of
the
course,
site
yeah.
first.
Yeah,
for
make sure
safety
we have
reasons
all
and
the
so
stuff,
forth.
yeah.
What's the likelihood, and I'm so glad you're here, because I had so many questions.
That's fine, that's good. We'd rather do this face to face.
What's the likelihood of us gradually drumming up interest in what all the members of the Ag Commission do through the nightlife program?
Well, can I just,
Yeah, go.
I wanted to ask Tim, if he had any formal classroom education to tell these people what it was, so that maybe they could maybe do something at night, even not over maybe 3, 4, 5, or 7 weeks. Just plant the seed in people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing, before I did my job change to become a farmer, I wasn't always a farmer. I actually went to a 12-week program done by the New Entry Sustainable Farming Program up in Lowell. You may or may not have heard of them. But that, where we did farm business planning, you know, how do you deal with all the various bits of what it takes to run a farm.
Right.
And then there's continuing things that happen throughout the year, but mostly in the summer, because that's when we do farming, around various aspects. And so there's an enormous amount of educational material that I have and that exists in the community that could be really interesting, perhaps, and I don't know the interest, that's, you know, up to the students, to really kind of do that. We can say, hey, here's what kind of here's what you have to think about to be on a farm, here's kind of the skills you're going to need, here's some of the things you need to do. And if that kind of led into, and starting in February or March, we start in the greenhouse, and then we work to the fields, and then, you know, kind of go through all the various, because we were starting in February. We start work in February. We do homework in December and January, which it's not 30 hours a week.
Right.
You know.
No, and you, listen, let's be very clear on the co-op thing before I address your other question. If you're going to go down a co-op path, you have to have work.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want a kid not doing anything. You want to keep them busy. And in this particular case, because we don't teach agriculture,
Right.
it's going to be the individual farmers who are going to teach them what they need to do.
Right.
And that's also very good in some respects, because your farm, you're going to run your way, somebody's going to run theirs a little differently, but you're going to have a kid who's moldable,
Right.
who has some good skills, just not farming skills or
Right.
agricultural
Yeah,
skills.
they're going to come in with a certain.
Right. So you're going to do some teaching while you're getting some work out of them, you know?
Yeah, that's the co-op experience.
Right, and that's I mean, it's farming as well.
But it's
you know?
got to fit, John, it's got to fit some sort of progressive educational template.
Go ahead.
We're going to build that, we could possibly build that into the building and property maintenance curriculum.
Okay,
So-
I do want to get my question answered, though.
Okay.
Can we begin to build interest through the nightlife courses?
And again, it depends on what you're talking about. The nightlife courses are not for high school students. The nightlife courses are for adults. So we don't offer them for anybody under 18. Now, you mentioned the Sustainable Farming Group up in Lowell. Seems to me that if they ever wanted to come down and do something, Bay Path has the perfect, we send out about 40 or 50,000 brochures. We do a lot of online advertising. And we would reach out to all of the agricultural commissions, because most of our towns have them in some varying form. But that's not, the night school is not the place for students. The place to build some interest would be to, as I said, between now and, let's say, February, set up 2, 3, 4 field trips to various places in Dudley, and/or if you know them elsewhere in our 10-town district, we'd be happy to branch out. I don't know if you folks interact with other towns people.
We've
But-
got some Dudley residents.
But we don't care who works on the farm.
Yeah, who are-
He's-
No, I think.
Whether
No, I'm
he's 18
saying-
years old or
Right.
43 or whatever.
For the adult, but for the nightlife, we'd be happy to work with folks to put on programs.
Right.
Those are independent contractors that run those classes. Those aren't my employees.
Oh, I see.
I do have several employees who moonlight,
Right.
for
But
example.
it's kind of a separate.
In the welding department, my welding teachers teach welding to adults at night. Same thing with,
Damn, I gotta take that.
So you could come up and teach an
Right.
adult night class.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it might be hard for me, but
Well,
yes.
you know,
well,
some of
in
them
the-
run
in the
3 or
winter.
4 weeks.
Yeah, in the winter.
Yeah,
So those are opportunities, but those you have to remember are for adults,
right.
by adults. Adults being 18 years old.
Interest is interest.
But my thing is, if we wanted to get interest, you know, I think part of your goal is to get young people interested in farming again. And we can't do it the way Norfolk Aggie or Smith Folk can. And if you've never been there, and you ever wanted to go there, I can arrange a field trip for you. I'll go with you on a Bay Path van, and you'll see what agricultural education is like at Smith or at Norfolk Aggie. Okay, I don't know the folks at Bristol that well, and Essex you'd have to buy me a hotel room. It's too far away.
Oh, excuse me.
But we'll go to Northampton, or we'll go to Norfolk. I've been to Norfolk, it's an outstanding facility. And you'll see what they do there. And some of your students, some of your town residents have gone there
We know.
at very large expense.
Lost an arm and a leg.
Right. But if they're attached to farming, they're gonna come out being farmers. What we would be able to do is spark some interest by getting them on 2 or 3 Dudley facilities, farms, whatever it is that, and then in February, if there's some interest in co-op, let's say you had an interest, we invite you down to the school, you meet the kids, you say, hey, look, we're starting a new co-op, this job is available, this sort of, and that building and property maintenance has really blossomed. So for example, some of the things they do in there, they learn welding. Okay,
Right.
so now you're at the farm, you need some tools welded, they're gonna have some experience in that.
They'll be a better welder than I am.
They learn a little bit of electricity. Do they do plumbing in there, Doug?
No.
No plumbing,
No,
okay.
no, no.
Electricity. And then all of the maintenance of
Right.
tools and equipment needed to take care of the grounds. They take care of Bay Path's grounds during this school year.
And of course, the property maintenance that you mentioned, you
Yeah.
know. So we've got a good start here, and the interest is where we started.
Yep.
And thank you for bringing this. This is good information.
Yeah, this is just a bare outline. My reason for you, if you have time and you're interested to see the kinds of things that these schools do, go to this page and you can click on these and get the details.
Yeah.
Okay?
Drill down.
And if we don't have any other questions,
I
we
have a que-
really appreciate that you did come tonight.
Oh.
Well, I have a-
I have a question.
I have
Yeah.
a question also.
Yeah.
Just theoretically, so the students need to work 30 hours a week, correct? Does it have to be for one farm, or could it be for 2 different ones?
Well, see, that's what Paul just brought up.
Right.
And you know, Don obviously is very knowledgeable about the laws.
Yeah.
If you said to me, John, you know, we've got 3 farmers, they're willing to split a co-op, we would bring them in, we'd address the issues and see if we could come up with a written agreement
Okay.
that overcomes the fact that we've never done it before. I'm a strong believer that you can come up with things if you write them down and everybody knows who's doing what. And then Chris Fauscher, the co-op director, will get the blessing on that. So there's a possibility. I can't say tonight, yes, we can do it, but there's a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
And
My other question is, the ag schools, are those state-funded schools, or or are
They
they
are
private
s-
schools?
yeah, they're similar,
State-funded
well,
They are-
state and local, Paul.
and local.
I mean, it costs Dudley somewhere about $20,000 a year when a student goes there.
okay.
And the state kicks in about 17 to 20,000. And then, of course, you have to transport students, which is unbelievable. Now, let me throw out this other thing which we have never done before, but that may be of use as well. And if we can't come to an agreement, a formal agreement on a multi-farm co-op, maybe we can design an internship program that we could give them credit for, where they wouldn't get paid. I'm not saying, don't, I'm on TV, I know Mr. Barron's on TV. I'm not saying we can do it. I'm saying we could possibly look at that,
I just love these alternatives.
okay? Because if I understand what some of your operations, yours seems fairly large, my main concern and goal is to make sure students are learning something when they're either on a co-op or if we designed an internship. I'm pretty confident they will. And of course, like Don said, we have a person that goes out and reviews the facility for safety and that kind of thing. So my message is, let's talk, let's find out what you need, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, get me 2 or 3 folks that are willing to let us bring some kids to see your operation. Because if they see it, a lot of kids are very visual and hands-on. If they see it, it's gonna, for 1, 2, 3, it may spark some interest and say, gee, I'd like to work on that farm, okay? But if all we do is talk about it, it doesn't hit them. It
Yeah.
doesn't hit them, you know?
Very visceral.
And there's opportunities in the agricultural community in Dudley for jobs. You don't have to be a farmer, you can service a farm,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
you know, so, really appreciate you coming. It's
I
been-
got 2 quick questions,
Yep.
and I'm sorry. I've talked with the folks at MDAR, the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, and done research on some grants that are available specifically for the infrastructure, to improve the infrastructure of farms, a barn, a building, whatever the case may be. And they offer non-matching. In other words, you don't have to put up 15 and they'll put up 15. They offer grants, and we've talked about it,
We've
to
looked into
get some new buildings built. One of the things that's always impressed me is the quality of the work that Bay Path kids have done. And I know there's a tremendous demand. But if any of the members of the Agricultural Commission or other farmers in town have a desperate need for something to either get to the next step or to maintain their business, how would they go about applying for that?
Well, the first step is to talk to Don, and let's look at a scope if there was a project, okay? The mechanism that we possibly could go through is the same mechanism as when we build a house. So depending on what the facility is and the scope. So it's difficult for us to commit to a big project outside of that house, okay? But if it's a $30,000 piece of building, an outbuilding or something, maybe that's feasible. So the answer on that, Paul, is really, it's a case by case. Call us, let's see. But I can tell you now that we have projects that are probably on the books for at least the next 18 months.
Okay,
Okay, because remember I told you at the beginning,
I'm not surprised.
we're doing the veterinary clinic. Once they locate a facility, our contribution to that is to renovate it. And that'll be almost a whole year job.
Now, my last question, I promise. My last question is that the nightlife programs instructors
Yep,
do get paid in some format.
absolutely.
So, for example, and I'm just picking this up because it's an easy one, Farmer Tim's Farms up on Ramshorn Road, they are grown, they are organically grown, but they don't go through the bullshit of having to be a certified organic farm. But Katie, they are organically grown vegetables. So if Tim or Katie wanted to pick up some money, or anybody here wanted to impart your knowledge through nightlife,
We could look into putting together a program that
put
might.
together a class, all right, for adults. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a rat's fanny who knows about what we have here for farming. I just want as many people as possible to know about it.
And remember
that was
something,
spread.
Paul. Okay, let's say that somebody put together a class. That's going to be farmers and interested folks throughout the region, okay? They don't have to be
That's right.
Dudley farmers, okay? So, I'm not sure, and I know you don't study the book, but I think at one time we had an apiary program for a few weeks. So how it works, and it's interesting because the guy who works on the co-ops, he's the director of the night school as well. I get every pound of flesh out of him as I can.
Oh, good.
But he runs the night school along with his assistant executive director. You would look at what it is that you wanted. It could be a single, let's say it's a single topic one night. We run those kind of programs. It's a, organic farming, how does it work? That's a 4-night whatever it is, you design it.
It's very flexible.
And then you decide how much you need to make, and we put it in there, and as long as we're covering our costs and making a couple of bucks,
It's all good.
so once in a while, we do cancel classes, because they're not that
If you
popular.
don't- Yeah.
But-
All of your ears should have perked up with this
Yeah,
presentation.
but we have, for example, I talked to you about the blacksmithing, okay? We're fortunate now, we have 2 levels of blacksmithing. We had a gentleman who, I don't believe he's on the Board of Selectmen anymore in Spencer, but he used to be way back when, and he does this very fancy kind of blacksmithing, and I think we limit that to like 6 people in that course. And so, it might be $100 for the course, he makes maybe 300 and we make 300, or 400, 200. We don't, as long as we're not losing money, because it's a public facility.
Great.
You all probably pay taxes, right? So you own that building. So,
we do.
you need to use it. So if you have something that, now, the other thing is, when you talk amongst yourselves, if we can find things we're going to work on, we're not going to do it at a public meeting. A couple of you come up, let's meet together, so we can go over the nitty-gritty details at that point. I've got some beautiful 14-passenger vans I just bought. So when we come out to a farm, we'll be out with the van, the kids, the instructors. The instructors will love it. They're multi-talented, and you know, we used to send this group of kids that we're talking to you about. Do you remember the name of the ship? The USS. It's out in Charlestown next to Old Ironsides. There's a ship there. I forget the name of it now, isn't that awful? But it's a decommissioned warship. Our kids went there maybe 10 times to do welding, to do painting. They restored the mast in the front of this, because I went down one time.
They brought a couple pieces back to
Yep,
school, worked on
they
the
brought the
school.
mast back to school.
Because the teacher was a veteran, and
Yep.
he was very into that.
So I'm
they-
telling you, it would be very exciting for them, and I think for the local folks here, to have these kids on these facilities. And,
Well, I'm so glad you guys came.
okay?
We all are.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
But call me, you know where I am. Call me, we'll get your information.
And I'd be surprised if you haven't received one of those adult ed magazines, because they go out and
They
take a
just
look
went.
through it and look at the
Yeah.
topics
See what else
that
is
are,
there, yeah.
because, you know, some people do ribbon cutting, or, you know, it's just
All kinds of,
crafts.
and of course, we have a lot of the continuing education for the tradesmen, because plumbers and electricians need to keep their education up. We provide all of that. So I think we have, usually in the fall, we have 1,100 students, and in the spring semester, you get about 900, because like yourself, by the time the spring semester is kind of getting to the end, people want to be outside. Either they have to be, in your case, or they're doing outside stuff, because we don't have a heck of a lot of good weather in New England to miss it.
Had one more question over here?
Yeah, so this is totally different. My name's Jerry. I'm not a farmer, so.
That's okay, we like you anyway.
I'm looking at this from a different point of view. I live in Dudley, and one of the
Yep.
things I like is that, we have a lot of farmland around us, and so I'd be interested. I've just heard from farmers at some of these meetings before, talking about their products that they have to sell. And since, the schools, your school and the Dudley Charlton school system probably are the biggest buyers of, food in the
Yep.
area, is there any way that you could set up something so that, maybe, like almost like an affirmative action plan for local farmers to sell to?
A farm-to-food program for,
Yeah.
Farm to school.
Farm to
That's
school.
actually a state
School,
program,
farm to
that's pretty
school.
good.
We do that now,
Yeah.
not locally in Dudley, but Worcester has an organization where a bunch of farmers sell their or, have their produce. So we're buying, probably in season, 60 to 70% of our vegetables from this organization, which I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it.
Let us be local.
I'm not gonna even
Okay.
guess.
Yeah.
They came and they met with us, and before that, we tried it, there was another group, and it didn't work. We have to have a good, secure source. So if there was a farmer in Dudley that wanted to commit to, coming in, letting us order what we need, and getting it there, we can do that. We can't do 20 tomatoes today, and that, because we're feeding 1,100 kids. But Worcester County farmers get into this cooperative in Worcester, and, at first, we were a little concerned when they talked to us. The pricing might be 5% more, and the food is outstanding. No, we're wasting so much less food because kids and adults, we feed some adults, want to eat it. As opposed to sometimes, you get the tomatoes down from Florida, and they're not tasty.
they were light orange.
So, to answer your question, if there were farmers, and if you're not here and you're listening on TV, we'd be willing to talk to them as well. Because if we can get a good supply, so maybe you're only doing one thing in big enough quantity for 3 weeks, we'll run that as a special. We also have our restaurant, so they might be able to use some of that.
If you've anybody here ever eaten at the restaurant there? Oh, yeah, Bay Path? Oh, yeah. You gotta go.
So, but that is a very good idea, and we'd be happy to discuss that with anybody.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, so much.
Okay, just call me. I'm always around. Dawn is usually around, and we'd be happy to talk with you.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Have a good night. Thank you. Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing great.
Next on the agenda, we have Jennifer Canoia and our health inspector. If you want to come up and introduce yourselves, thank you for waiting,
Thank you.
and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. I'm Jennifer Canoyer, Chairman of the Board of Health.
And I'm Tom Purcell, I'm the health inspector for the town of Dudley.
What town are you in?
So I had mentioned at public hearing for the town Board of Health that, you know, we were having a meeting tonight, and Jennifer said she'd be willing to come. She'd be here, because you're there till 7, right?
I'm here till 7, yes.
And you're still here.
It's okay.
And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, some people have been coming to me with questions, because we have Dudley Farm Days coming up. And I think I mentioned it at that public hearing, sometimes we don't know where to go to find out what we need to do to be compliant.
Right, that's why I brought Tom tonight.
Okay.
He's my expertise.
So you can tell us what you have, or we have some questions. You want to take questions first, or
Whichever way you want to handle it.
doesn't matter to me?
Generally, what I can do is I can give you a quick snapshot.
Yep.
With agricultural fairs and agricultural setups, and the state has set up a program where they allow the selling of their products. The farmers may sell their products, and they don't need permits for them and all of that. There are restrictions or limitations of what you can do. And what I've done is I've taken the liberty of making up a list of that for you. You can make as many copies as you want, pass them out. To go over it very quickly, about the only thing that you have no need for a permit, there's several things that you don't need permits for. If you're going to be selling whole uncut fruits or whole uncut vegetables, if you're going to be selling unprocessed honey, if you're going to sell maple syrup and farm fresh eggs, there's only one regulating factor on the farm fresh eggs. You have to have refrigeration, and it has to be under 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Other than that, it's anything, and now everything else, any other products that you're going to be selling would be considered processed food, and all of those do need permits. You do need, if you're going to hold a fair, a 1-day or a 2-day fair, you can get a temporary license or a temporary permit. Those are $25. But any of the produce sales, uncut and all, that's no charge. You don't need a permit for it, and that takes care of it.
Basically the same rules as for like a farmer's market.
When you open a farmer's market, a farm stand, anything like that.
Right. So I've learned
You
that.
are, there's some
Can't cut those
questions.
watermelons in half.
Well,
Can't
there's
do it.
questions,
Just cut it
there's
afterward.
questions whether sampling is allowed.
Right.
You can cut the watermelons in half, but you can't display them that way. If you do, you have to display them on ice,
Yes.
and they have to be wrapped,
Yes.
and they have to be labeled. Some people don't know what a watermelon is, so you have to tell
Well,
them.
some of them have yellow inside and some of them are red inside.
Oh, I understand, some of them are seedless, some are,
And it's like, how do I get enough ice to last through 4 hours of a farm stand? And
right.
so mostly I just leave them whole. And I tell them, this one's yellow, this one's green. And trust me.
The famous thing to do with like watermelon or tomatoes or anything, a lot of the producers like to show their wares.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you should set up like an ice tray of some type, like they do in the restaurants, with the water drains away. You can, if it's on a site that they don't mind you dumping the water, let it drip on the ground. But it just can't set up a pool where the vegetables and stuff might be floating around in a pool of water. That's not acceptable. Virtually everything else, like I say, if you cut the vegetables, If you process foods, now there is one exception. There's an indication in here about baked goods.
About what?
Baked goods, like cake sale, cookie sales.
Pies.
If they don't require, right, if they don't require refrigeration, if they're shelf stable for more than a few days, there's no permits required for that. For a school or students or farmers to have a bake sale. If you're doing it and mass producing it in your kitchen, now you have to have you should have a residential kitchen license.
Should. I noticed the word should.
Well, what you should be doing, you must. It should be, it's
Yeah.
must.
Okay.
I'm trying to soften it a little bit.
So in that case, it's not the end product that determines if you need a permit. It's how you make the product.
Sometimes it's the preparation of the product. If you buy it, we'll say you get a bunch of tabletop pies donated to you for sale or whatever. Those are shelf stable, they're from an approved food source already. You won't need any special handling there. It still says that you will need a food permit for that. The other concern, I guess, is it's one of the trickier areas is some of the farmers produce their own meat. And they try to sell meat at farmers markets and harvest fairs and all of that. You can do it. 2 conditions. Number one, it has to be slaughtered at a USDA approved facility. It must be stamped or approved as USDA approved. And then you have the temperature controls. You have to be able to provide the temperatures
Yeah.
that's needed to handle the product on site.
It's still true that you can get a special poultry permit as long as you produce them in Massachusetts and sell them in Massachusetts?
What is a
It's-
special poultry?
Well, like the MDIR did this thing where I went to there's a mobile
They
poultry
were pushing the
processing
mobile
unit.
unit, yeah, but I don't know that anybody's using it actually.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that.
Because
Okay.
it required a lot of permitting, like on site when you
Right.
had it there, from the Board of Health, from whoever, yeah. It's
Yeah,
almost
it
not
looked
worth it.
complicated, and so I haven't done it. but
Take them to
Yeah.
Rhode Island, yeah.
Yeah, just take it to Rhode
That
Island.
might be one of the,
Yeah.
one of the tougher subjects. We have to,
Yeah.
go to
I
our
won't- I
our
won't waste more time,
resources.
Sorry.
okay. And like I said, I'll leave a copy of this for
Yep.
for your group, and you can distribute it as you need it. What it does is it explains also all of the products as far as physical handling, physical and sanitary facilities that you're going to require. They're held in open air.
For certain products.
For anything that requires a permit. So you have to have like restrooms available and all of that.
Okay,
Available.
Let me just do this, Tom, to move it along. Dudley Farm Days, the first Dudley Farm Day will be at the Apple Festival on October 5th.
Okay.
And I've already reserved the town common
Okay.
because the Grange is charging vendors to set up on Grange property.
Okay.
And when we told them we wanted to do this for any local person who produced more consumable goods than what their family would consume, that we wanted them to be able to set up, they said, well, we can't do that. We're charging them already, we gotta charge you. I said, So we went and got the common. So now we've got the whole common, and I'm hoping right now, just to answer a question, we have about 5 or 6 people who have indicated that they will come and set up, that they have to have their own tables. The deadline is September 14th, so I'll be sure to get the Ag Commission a report of who we have for by the 14th of September. And I'll announce it deadline at the next selectmen's meeting. But what I would like you to do is not to waive any inspection that you have to do, because that's not in the public interest.
Right.
But for this one time, I would like you to waive a $25 permit fee
And that would be something that you can petition the board for that.
to get as many farmers and residents of Dudley to participate. And that's only to get us off to a good start. And I hope that that's something you can maybe get the Board of Health to do.
Yeah, you should.
I'll
What
put
you-
it on
Right,
for the
what you
next
should do is
agenda.
make sure that you submit a formal request for
Okay.
that. Just, and send it directly to the Board of Health.
The same
And they'll
email
put it
that
on the
you
Just
used.
agenda for the
email
next
it.
meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Just email it in, and then that way he'll get it on the agenda for.
We'll get it on the agenda, and then we can, or they can just deliberate on it, which shouldn't be a problem.
Well, if this is Ag Commission sponsored, can they get one permit for everybody?
Typically, you're gonna find out there's more than just the ag people. If you're talking about opening it up to other vendors, you're gonna open it to other.
No, we,
Not
no,
necessarily.
just Dudley Farms this time.
Again, that might be, that's kind of a tricky subject, to use a blanket application for several producers, that's kind of dangerous.
So maybe this is,
All we're looking to do is make sure that, we're not looking to make any money on it. All we want to be able to do is make a particular person responsible for a particular product, and we will go in and do the inspection on his wares and his product,
Yep.
to make sure that everything is safe. We're not trying to beat anybody up and.
Which just basically includes having thermometers in coolers, refrigerators.
Exactly. The
Hand washing.
page 3 of this breaks it down into what's required, displays, meat, poultry, raw milk and raw dairy products are out. You can't have that.
You can't have that at all?
Not at
On-site.
farmer's market.
because only on site.
Only
can
on
only do it
site.
It's only on
Farmers.
site at the farm itself.
Okay, because, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I remember there was a time, and Victor knows this well because he suffered from
When you
it,
go far enough back, that's what
that
it
the town prohibited the sale of raw milk.
Yes.
And of course, he sold his herd at that time. And next thing you know, right after he did that, the town said, oh, you can sell raw milk again. All right, so, and I mean, I know that's where we get our
so
milk.
do you have some questions? You said you had.
I was just going to ask liability. So we sell at the Sturbridge Farmers Market, and I know to get our permit for that, we have to, provide proof of our liability. Is that something you guys would require for this? Because I'm just thinking, on our level, that's not a problem, and I'm sure Tim's too, but like Paul's idea of the guy with the big giant garden that has too much to sell, they're not going to have a big liability.
The likelihood is, if it's something you need a permit for, you should make sure you've got your own general liability insurance for it. Simple as that. Protect yourself. The raw vegetables that are uncut, I don't know that you have to worry about anything, but anytime you have any type of manipulation or adulteration of a product, you expose yourself to
So it's not
liability.
required, but that you strongly advise.
At this point, I'd strongly recommend it. I'll investigate it further, but I think at this point,
But don't investigate it too far.
Any
All
other-
farmers
He
markets
has to answer to
require
me,
that,
so.
Yeah.
that's a normal, that's a normal permitting process.
You gotta give them a insurance binder
Is to
before
get it
the season
right.
starts.
Yeah,
And
with
that's
the
it.
application, that's something
Yeah.
that
All we
we,
do is have your insurance agent fax us a copy of a certificate of insurance,
Any other
naming
questions?
us.
Right.
No, but while we're here, can I address one other issue?
Yeah, I have a question.
I have a question too.
Well, go ahead.
How long does the process take? Because we only have, what, 4 weeks?
not, to
Okay.
process an application, not,
7 or 8 hours
yeah, not
Okay.
long at all,
Okay.
absolutely. And
overnight.
yeah, you just
Okay.
come in, see our clerk, or
Okay.
if for some reason they weren't there, I'm in the next office right now, just come see me.
Okay.
And Tom will stop by any time to
As long
review
as-
anything.
As long as it's not like a
Pretty
few
much
weeks.
restricted to
Okay.
the hours of operation for the
Okay.
Board of Health, if you wanted to look at these specific hours, that the doors are open.
Okay.
If there's something that stacks up, they pick up the phone, they call me, I can come down, and
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that,
I'm
Okay.
that's,
within an hour or two.
Makes me think, if we're already permitted by the town, do we need to apply for another permit for this event?
These are temporary permits for the farmer's market. If you already have,
I'm trying to think what they
What do you have for a
I
permit?
think it's a retail, isn't it a retail?
I think you have retail sales.
For,
Kepke.
Kepke's?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to sell it off-site,
Right, I don't have, right, that's what I wonder.
because permits are site-specific.
Okay.
Unless you've got a wholesale.
Did you have something?
Yeah, so,
No.
on those permits, so if we were to bring frozen USDA stamped meat to sell and had a thermometer in the freezer running,
You don't even have to have a freezer running.
you don't need to?
Just has to be cold
We do,
enough.
we
You
do
just have to
with
monitor
those
the
giant-
Below
those
zero?
Giant markets.
You have to monitor the temperatures in a case like
What
this
is the
where it's not
regulation
powered.
for frozen food, below zero?
I believe it's 10 degrees.
Oh, 10 degrees,
It's not-
okay.
I believe that's the number, but
Okay.
when you have something where there's no power to them, now you have to go in and you're gonna do hourly temperature checks, and you're gonna
Okay.
certify that,
Do you guys have the,
pardon?
like, the little
The electronic.
gauge, the electronic one that you can open the cooler and it tells you what the temperature is, or you just
Do you
want
still
to?
have that one?
No, that,
It's
that kind of
puts his
doesn't,
fingers.
It's still hard, it's good.
that really doesn't cut it. And when we do our restaurant inspections and all, we find that they have these nice little digital displays up there,
Up
and
on
they're
top.
actually, for the most part, those are all air temperatures that are in there. It's not the product temperature. The only ones that have product temperatures, if you look in some of the reach-ins, there'll be like a little or a big prescription bottle up in the corner with the thermometer sticking in the water. That's a product temperature. The rest of it's only air temperature. You leave the refrigerator door open, it gets up to 70, just like that. And now it kicks on, and
Right.
we're not really interested in what the air temperature is anyhow. That's why we want them to use a separate thermometer inside the unit, so that we have something to test the product, that's all.
Okay.
I know some of us have attended the August 20th meeting about chickens. And you've entertained, as I have, a lot of questions about chickens. So I made a request at the last selectmen's meeting. The only fly that I see in the ointment is the argument that right now, if you want to appeal either the regulations or the bylaw, whether it's 6 chickens or 12 or 18, you have to go through a public hearing process with the ZBA, which is approximately $400 to $500 for advertising, certified letters, etc. So what I've done is I've asked the town administrator to work with town council and the Board of Health to come up with a plan where appeals of either the regulations, as they will finally be promulgated, or the bylaw will go to the Board of Health at a regularly scheduled meeting, instead of going through the public hearing process. And I know that's a big concern. Now, I don't know if it can be done or how it can be done.
Okay, so let me address if I can. The special permit and zoning and everything, we have no control over that.
Right.
That's all taken by the ZBA. Zoning is all handled by planning. I'll get back to that in a minute. The Board of Health regulation, if you, as the regulations are right now, and as you know, we're still under construction, but one of the things we do have is a variance. If there's you can always come in front of the Board of Health for a variance. If you were on 4 acres and you wanted that rooster, you can come for a variance. The fee for a variance, what we discussed with town council is a public hearing has to be held, because you're looking for something out of the ordinary than what is normally in the regulations. The only thing that has to be done, and town council did go over this with me, is that notification to the abutters needs to be done. But it's no longer required via certified mail. It's been recently changed that you can do it just regular mail, which does save you opposed to $8 as opposed to, I don't know what a stamp is
No, it's 48, how
By the
much
time you
is
get
it?
done, it's about $1.50.
Okay.
That part's
To put the mailing together
Oh, okay.
with
So-
postage.
So that does save you a bit of money, so it's not as cost prohibitive. Coming in front of us for a variance wouldn't cost you anything. Board of Health doesn't charge for variances.
Now, a variance can only be done for Board of Health regulation,
That is correct.
cannot be done for a zoning bylaw.
That is correct.
Got it.
The zoning would all be handled by the ZBA. I know I've spoken with you, something at our last one, at my meeting, you guys were talking about, farms with 3.5 acres and things like that. My advice to you is to reach out to our town planner. Because as the bylaw stands now, which we briefly touched on at my Board of Health meeting, but I don't want to get into it that much, but that the only thing that's considered agricultural is over 5 acres, according to the zoning bylaw. So that's something that I really anticipate you would like to have changed,
Well,
have different versions and different ways of keeping of animals on different sites than how the zoning bylaw is current.
I didn't have a specific person, farm,
Right.
or acreage. It's just that as a right-to-farm community, one of our jobs is to try to keep it that way.
And that's why I
That's
agree.
all my
I agree with
concern
you.
was.
And we've come up with the Board of Health regulations to encourage healthy farming, healthy keeping of animals. So, as we've discussed, the small acreage, having healthy animals on the acreage.
Less than 5 acres.
Yes,
So if somebody had 3 acres.
Yes.
And wanted to have enough chickens to sell a lot of eggs, okay, they could come to you for the variance for the different number of chickens.
but they would have to go to the zoning prior, because zoning, depending
Zoning
on,
just says livestock.
the zone,
The way the
depends,
zoning bylaw is written now, they would have to go through or get the town to change that particular bylaw.
Exactly.
exactly.
Or go to.
Because of the bylaw, not because of the regs.
Right, but
So
the
what's the
bylaw
word-
doesn't say anything about
The
chickens.
bylaw, as I've read it, separates the definition of poultry versus livestock.
And regardless, it's up to the interpretation of the zoning officer, so that whatever he
Okay.
deems, we can all say we can all interpret it different ways, but it boils down to, he's the zoning officer, how he interprets it kinda is.
So what would be some of the regulations that we could just come to you, these new regulations?
So, our goal is, if you, as it stands right now, if you get a special permit from the ZBA to have, it's not just chickens, it's animals.
Right.
Okay? So, say you live on, we're gonna use the acreage, okay?
Yeah.
And you would come to us to get a permit. The reason why, and I probably didn't explain this good at my last meeting, the reason why we're looking to get a permit is my animal inspector inspects all, I'm sure my animal inspector has been out to your farms. By state law, they're supposed to inspect anywhere where there's animals other than domesticated animals. We're not being notified of, people
chickens
with
in the backyard,
chickens
of
and
course not.
goats and pigs, and we're not being notified.
Well, we are, if I may step in.
Well-
A lot of times, the
My neighbors,
notification
though.
we get
After
is
the fact.
typically complaints.
From the neighbors, you get the notification from the neighbors?
Yes, sorry.
Can can I just ask a question? Educate me here. So, under 5 acres, you're not allowed to have any chickens, period? Is that what you're saying?
According to the
Period.
zoning bylaws,
Okay.
yes.
Just-
And what
I just wanted to
what the
make
Board of
that clear.
Selectmen has done is the Board of Selectmen has recommended, and other powers in the town, they want us to look and fill that gap with some reasonable control over keeping of animals, and it's not keeping of chickens, it's keeping of all animals, including mules and
Rabbits.
and
Donkeys are
goats
small.
Right.
and all of
Isn't there a lot
that.
of, there's a lot of cities, like, up around Boston, There are people that are just doing it in their backyards in less than 10,000 square feet.
Nobody
you
has
know?
addressed it, that's all. They haven't challenged it.
Okay. In animals, do bees count?
No.
You
Does
can
what
make
count?
them, you can.
Bees. I got like 100,000 bees.
I had,
mean,
I had
it's
it in
like-
Oxford, where
have
you
enough
can
acres.
put apiaries.
I got plenty of acres,
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's not the problem.
I just wanted, does the animal inspector have to come to my farm because I have an
No.
apiary?
But
No.
don't you have, there's a bee guy that's supposed to come and check those bees, isn't there?
Well, I don't know.
Only
Yeah,
if you're
'cause I-
selling- Only if you're selling bees.
There's,
If you sell nukes, you have to have them inspected.
Bees or honey?
No, you can
No,
sell
not
honey.
honey.
Honey needs
No.
no permit at all.
No.
no permit required.
I thought all
I'm not selling the
hives,
bees, I'm trying to keep them alive, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah,
The,
Sorry for their
and
distraction.
pollinate what you got.
What?
Pollinate all those plants you grow.
just
Well-
one thing of value for all the apiary owners. In today's light of Triple E and West Nile virus, there really should be a registration program for all the beekeepers, just to let us know, just so that we know how many apiaries there are out there and where they are. So if we do any type of spraying, mosquito spraying, we can either notify them, put you on a need list,
I got one.
and notify you that they're gonna be
Very
spraying. And all you literally have to do is, because they're gonna
That was
spray at
beyond
night
us.
anyhow, is to put the wet sheet over,
Right, during the spraying, yeah.
over the hives at night, and then take them off first thing in the morning. All of the sprays out there, they can affect the bees, and you happen to get a good hit. We got one complaint up in Oxford where they wiped out one guy's hive.
They must be great for us, too.
But
Neither
it's
the
not good
infected
to,
mosquitoes, though.
so if you have something of value, unfortunately, when they do the mass aerial spray, there's no selective,
No.
you can't go in and skip. The only time you can do that is if you're doing local spraying
Right.
off the back of a truck.
Well, I know they'd be aiming for me because I got,
Ground
the bees
spray.
are right next to the pond, and the pond is gonna be a target, so,
And
So-
the sprays that they're using don't affect the water supply anyhow.
Right.
The only animals that they affect are the bees and the fish that happen to be on the surface of the water trying to eat a mosquito, and they may get a mouthful of it.
I gotta say this, and then, I'm speaking as a selectman now, is I wanna thank you two and the rest of the Board of Health for going through the ordeals and the criticisms and the negatives, and somehow stay the course as you have to try to come up with something that is appropriate and yet manageable and tolerable. And towards that, and I hope you know, that the Board of Health has agreed not to charge for animal inspections the first year. And that's a major concession. And what they'll do is they'll keep track of the time that it takes to do those inspections, and based on a normal hourly rate, what does that come to? And then they will talk about whether or not they want the public or animal owners to absorb a portion of that, all of it, or none of it. And I say that because those are the three options they have.
That's correct.
So you've done well to stay the course, and I know it's not been easy.
No, and I just, by no intent, our intent is not to control, manage, it's to allow people to have animals in healthy conditions in small areas. Like I kept mentioning, subdivisions, not every, we love animals, not everybody loves animals. Not everybody wants that, but we want to allow people to have it under controlled, so that we can control the health, make sure that they have proper,
housing.
thank you, it's been a
Housing,
long day.
setbacks.
Yeah,
Housing, setbacks, animal control, animal responsibility.
taken care of
They have to
properly.
be responsible animal managers. There's a lot to managing some of the animals. There's a lot to be said about free-range animals of all types, where you don't restrain them, you let them browse and and graze and do whatever they're going to do. But you have a certain responsibility to make sure that they're kept on your property,
Right.
that as the large farmers, and most, everybody at the 5-acre level, everybody at the 5-acre level is not affected by this at all.
No.
These are all greater than 5 acres, so you're all greater than 5 acres, so you're not subject to that.
Right.
Right.
It's just that anytime regulations start coming into play, us with more than 5 acres need to keep our ears open.
absolutely,
because
absolutely.
You just mentioned, not every person is fond of animals.
Yes.
But Dudley is a right-to-farm town. So if you move to Dudley, you might live next to animals.
Absolutely.
And I'm just afraid where this can go.
There are issues that address even the larger farmers and I worked in other communities where we've had this with irresponsible management of their animal waste products, of their deceased animals, of excessive quantities and
Excrement.
well, I mean, like we had
The pig farm.
The pig
that they have
farm.
in Oxford.
I had manure lagoons
about
like you couldn't believe. We had, I didn't have it in Charlton with Menard's maintenance place there, the Dresser Hill Farm, where they had the stockpiles of manure sitting up gradient from the pond. Couldn't understand why the pond was brown all the time, because it was poor manure management.
And the manure gets spread on the fields. My kids, when they went to Shepherd Hill, when you went to Shepherd Hill, they shut the windows because there was chicken manure being spread on the fields at the Easterbrook Farm. So this
It's
is
a-
a farming community.
Well, we understand, and
I-
every time we dealt with the state on that, and God love her, I don't remember her name, she was a director of DAR, and she'd call it spring air.
There you go.
Well, the problem we had with the pig farm up there was the way that they processed their food, their slop, to feed to the pigs.
Yeah.
They would throw it in the cooker, bags and all, and feed the plastic bags and everything and the wrappers right through the pigs. Well, all the neighbors, after the manure dried out in the fields, and they're picking up trash bags and stuff, and wrappers and Hostess cupcake
Well, they
containers.
weren't getting pre-wrapped sausage out of them?
Well,
But you can see that there's mismanagement at all levels, and sometimes somebody has
That's what's
to.
unfortunate, because it's
step
that
in.
one bad apple that ruins it for the rest. It is true.
We
And
get-
There are some irresponsible animal owners, I've known some in my life, so.
We get the people that have keeping of animals and where they keep it, right next to the property line.
So are you all comfortable with the information that you got so far tonight from the Board of Health?
Yeah, this was great, thanks.
So far,
Any
it just
other
seems like we
questions?
have to be.
They've had a,
Do you guys have any questions for us?
No, and I want to thank you for coming to the last meeting. Like I said, we appreciated all the input. We all have our notes. We'll all be working at one of the upcoming meetings to, like I said, we weren't looking to go to print. We just wanted to have something out there as a starting point to go with. So we appreciated everything you gave us.
well, we appreciate you adding an hour and a half to your day.
It's okay.
And
It's okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you have any
Thank you,
questions,
guys. Thank
please
you.
contact us.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll probably be seeing us coming for permits.
We'll be there.
It's like it's a double-edged.
Still exempt.
Next on the agenda, goals and logo discussion.
Yes. I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. I've got letterheads, copies of them. Did a bunch of copies of these. I also did another one that I brought in the past and the future. I did a bunch of different things so you can all look at.
This is just come from there.
I love
Yeah,
this
this is
stuff.
done.
You sent out the emails on
I
this
sent it
stuff.
only to you.
Oh, man, it's
So
so
you can
good.
check it out.
Did you get the,
There's that one.
No.
There's
These
this.
are
This is it?
haunted colors.
Oh, this is it?
Yeah, that's good.
This
This
is
is
the
better
haunted.
on,
So what we need to do maybe is make
yeah,
some
on the
copies of them.
website.
I will,
Yeah,
so
this-
what
this
I'll
I
do
really
is,
like
It
that.
looks really
We
nice.
get it put on the web,
Those.
on the,
What are we looking
on
at?
our.
You're
That's,
good.
that's letterhead, it's a two-page
Oh,
letterhead.
there's, oh,
That I
oh.
can
It'll be
send
the-
out to everybody,
the
that
first
if you
page,
have to
and we
send
can
a
subsequent
letter,
pages.
it'll it'll automatically
Yep.
pull in, and it's
Right.
on Word, so it's a regular Word
That's
doc.
nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I
So
like
if you
this.
like that.
Looks very professional.
Here's one that I also did for Vendors Wanted,
This is the one, yeah?
Do that without fraud. but, you
and
know.
I did one.
Well, you have been busy.
No, this
I've
is
been
great.
And we
busy.
She's done some great stuff.
We appreciate that.
And I also did one for Dudley Farm Days, which also brings in the Apple Festival and the Black Tavern down in the bottom. So, looking for your input on these. If you like them, I can blast them out to,
If you need a stamp that says USDA approved, you got it.
okay.
Now, here's the question I have. Is this an agricultural commission or committee?
Commission.
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 It is a commission?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Is
That's
it
good to know.
Agricultural Advisory Commission?
Screw the advisory part.
Okay.
Just agricultural commission?
Just, I mean, it's,
Agricultural
yeah, it's,
Commission.
yeah, the
Originally
agricultural
what?
commission.
Great.
Agricultural
it's
Advisory Commission.
oh,
Yeah,
you're right, it
But-
was.
but none of them, none
Yeah,
of
we're
the
like
other
an
towns
advisory
have
board.
that anywhere on their
Advisory.
titles, Agricultural Advisory
Yeah.
Commission. Majority of them are just plain agricultural.
Well, let's ask the
Remember her
question.
name,
You
but
ask them
So-
the question, what they want, which way they
Yeah.
want to go.
Patterns.
Which
Yeah.
way do you want to go? I can
We need to
change.
clarify with him.
Keep it simple.
I think I
Just
have
keep
it
it
on
this
the
way.
agenda.
Okay.
Goes on right to sign.
Oh, this is nice.
See, right here.
Yeah, so, but we need to clarify the
love
division
I'll
of
get you up
comment.
here eventually.
Yeah, did you guys get one of these, the older one? That I brought it, this one here?
This stuff is so cool.
We did.
Okay.
This is
Wasn't
great.
sure if you got that.
If,
We gotta get
If you-
these up and around town.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I
Well,
wanted
we
to do,
need,
was
we
to
need to
get the
vote on
approval.
this tonight, really.
these are really nice.
And this
Yeah,
one
because
here I
these can
brought
go
in
get
the
hung in the
past.
libraries and
Jesus.
the grocery stores. and-
Yep.
That one there. I found
yes, the
bottle
library,
caps from
yeah.
Magara Dairy and Jimba Dairy.
Hey, you
Oh,
smell
Where'd you
that,
find
yeah.
those?
They were online.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
just put in Magara Dairy because he's down the road from where I used to live. He was my neighbor.
I like this, because from left to right, it goes from old to new.
That's just what I was just saying, old to new.
Well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I
really
think this
nice.
is all fantastic. You've done a
Beautiful.
fantastic job with all
Glad
this.
you like it.
But, Mike, if you're gonna drive into town, is this gonna be,
Well, no, that's more like for like the website. You
Oh,
know, if
okay,
you
so
wanna
you-
put it up
so-
on the website,
so if you're gonna put a sign out, we have to
you
do
could
something,
probably use like some of the verbiage.
so scale it back and,
Yeah, I can make it smaller, I can take stuff off, you know, or like for the sign, maybe just put like
Yeah,
right to
'cause this
farm
one's a little
community.
smaller.
well,
You
I'd like
know,
to say like,
or-
welcome to Dudley.
Yeah.
Or a right to farm community.
You
We
know-
have no
Yeah.
signs in Dudley that say
No.
welcome to.
No,
You
but
just
we do
listen,
one.
You
but-
just did it.
listen,
If she just added, welcome to Dudley, the various companies, one of the ones we just had on the selectmen's meeting,
yeah.
they can reproduce this. They can reproduce it onto any surface you want, any size you want.
Yeah, so you could do like,
You
you
get
know like how
permission to put a sign
Webster,
up.
like Webster has the banner across the main street, the
Yeah.
historic Main Street area? What if Dudley does something like that, to string across the road with something, with that?
Yeah,
And
You know,
your
like
farm
during-
day signs are next on the
yeah,
agenda
during
too.
things.
During
We would
things.
keep, we would take
Oh,
care
well,
of it, take
okay,
it
yeah.
down and use it during different things, yeah.
Yeah, so this one here I pulled from different areas, so I even put the little town logo on there,
Yep.
so it's official, it's town.
Is there any one of these, let me make this easy. Is there any one of these that someone doesn't like?
Yeah, because I'm looking for feedback. I can take stuff off, I can change things around.
They say you've done a
I've got
great
s-
job.
Got a smaller one here,
I
if you
think-
want to just use that
Well-
for something, some publicity stuff, the Agricultural Commission.
Just
The top part,
there's an R in black.
Yeah, you just gotta
Oh.
take that R out. I saw that
Oops.
too. That's my editing
That's
that
the one
catches
here.
those things.
yeah.
But yeah, that's easy for.
So
Typo.
just, pardon my ignorance, how far is it from Old Town Common to the Black Tavern to the Dudley Grange? How, like,
Footsteps.
Within, within
they're all
a
right in the same area?
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
100
Okay.
yards.
You could
Footsteps.
throw a rock from one to the other to the other.
Yeah, walk across the
Oh,
street.
oh,
walk
okay,
to- yep.
right, because I've been to the Black Tavern and the Grange, but I didn't know where Old Town Common was. I
It's
was
right,
wondering-
Right in
right
front of
in
the
front of the
church.
church.
Okay.
Right in front of
Yeah.
the
It's like
condo
the circular
church,
driveway at the Grange.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
where-
it really is that whole
where our people
section.
will be setting up on October 5th.
Did you check with the Black Tavern, because are they
Yeah.
gonna, using that space too for craft vendors?
Yeah, because they said that
They
they were
said they
using
were
that
having Old
space for their.
Sturbridge Village artisans on the common.
Oh, so they're not doing that this year?
No, they are.
They are.
They are, so
Yeah.
You said you reserved it.
They have
I
their,
did.
yeah, they
For our
reserved it.
people, that's why I need to know how many people.
Yeah, they
You
said.
got a
that-
comment on that, or?
I just want to say that, you know, in a recent conversation with the tavern, they told us that the tavern had already reserved the common
Right.
for,
last
Not with the
February.
town.
I was told it did.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look it
could
up.
you,
Yeah, that- I
could you
just-
come up to the chair and-
Sure.
so we can hear and tell us?
Yeah, it's our understanding.
You
that
can
they
introduce
already-
yourselves.
They put a letter in last February to get the town common so that they could set up. They don't really know how many are gonna be on there. And we were trying to reserve some space for them at the.
The more the
Grange,
merrier,
too.
we'll work it out,
So,
because I reserved it through the town administrator.
okay, I guess, I heard that they
Yeah.
did last
How
February.
big is this common?
So, I don't know who.
big
We'll work it
enough.
out.
I don't
pretty
know,
good.
okay.
Okay.
But I do think that there's enough space for all
I
of
think
us
so.
to
Oh,
make
yeah,
it
town
work.
common's good size.
They'll just
Yeah.
make it work for
I
everybody.
mean, there's not
And,
that
and
many
I
of
just
us.
wanted you to know that the Grange is offering space.
Yeah.
I know we had this conversation before, but I was speaking with Victor prior to the meeting, and given the fact that, you know, they're planning some of the activities that they're planning, just to bring, for the kids, I think that that's a great contribution, and so if you need space, we'd be willing to put space for you.
We'll make it work.
This
Absolutely,
is
we
gonna
will
be-
make it work.
This
Could
is
be a
gonna be
good
good,
time.
considering all that's going on, and the fact that we might be talking about more spaces than we've ever used before. That's great.
So, just wanted
That
you
is
to know
great.
that.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so getting back to the logos
Yeah.
and graphics and stuff. Now, this one here for the Dudley Farm Days, once I fix the typo on it, I can blast this out to everybody that's on, that I had emails from for all the farmers.
Is that the original list from the Grange
Yeah.
meeting? Okay.
Yeah, that has everybody else, because I've got a couple of different ones, one for just us, and then,
Are you
the-
ready
the
for all the
one.
calls, Paul?
Yeah, why is Black Tavern, it's not a typo.
On one of them, on this one here, for the vendors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Down there, I got a typo. Hey, what do you expect at 11 o'clock at night?
Can I see
I don't even know how you do all this, you're fantastic. I'm gonna come in and invade you someday with some stuff.
So, this one here for the
This is
vendors
good,
wanted.
too. Black, oh, black.
Black.
Well, that's a different, yeah, it's just a deeper black.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
was, I was looking at tavern, I'm like, there's an R there.
Yeah, I looked at that, that's what I
Yeah,
did
it's the
too.
other one.
the other
So
one.
this one here, the vendors wanted, that I can also send out to our farm list.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And-
yes.
Yeah,
Then it all depends too on if we don't get enough, then we could do like Black Mirror or some of the other farms that are abutting
I would
town.
put this one in the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
yes,
You want the vendor one in
yeah.
the grocery store?
Yeah, we'll go put it in the grocery
do this one,
stores,
yeah.
the libraries,
Yep.
and,
Hey,
you
you know what,
know,
leave it the way it is.
all the ones.
Nobody knows how to spell black.
I'm
It's
sorry.
pretty easy to change.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's really
We
easy
have
to
computers
And-
now, Paul, it's
and-
okay.
Nobody's gonna,
Oh, no, I have to go through all of this.
Because this one here has like more information pertaining to the actual vendors.
now what about Michael Cushing, who's a Dudley resident, who's managing the Oxford farm? They've got,
I
they've
think
got
we need
sheep,
to
they've
decide,
got
are we,
goats.
are we,
Yeah, that's
are we gonna
just
make it Dudley only, like you need to be in Dudley, or?
Well,
We had talked both ways.
We've opened the membership
Yeah, I think we would talk about
to
other
Dudley
towns.
residents who run farms. We didn't say if they're in town, but our first priority is strictly in-town people.
Oh, okay,
But what
so,
what if Michael says, I'd like to set up something for our goat meat or our lamb meat, whatever?
I'd say the more the merrier.
Yeah.
why would you
Yeah,
wanna
we'll
put
fit
this
'em
up
in.
at
We'll
Pocket
fit
Shop
everybody
then?
in.
I want to put this at each of the,
Because this is inviting anyone to come.
Yeah.
yeah, no, but it's also telling people we're doing it. And we want to get
But
people
so is
to
this.
our
That's-
vendors.
Well,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
what
like
this
this one here.
Right.
See, this is
Yeah.
vendor specific because I've got information, I have information on there like the table fees.
This
Well,
should
I'd
go
say-
to our list of farmers.
Yeah,
As
this
they
is
used to
your
say
list
in
of
Munich,
farmers first.
Mark's next to me, this one's better, okay?
Well,
Well, we
it's
get one
just a
It's gonna
matter, we
get
have
people
to
to come.
decide, are we
Yeah.
going
This is
to
gonna get people to
invite
Bend.
Right, exactly.
other towns,
Well,
other
but
farmers?
me,
These
I
first
have a-
people-
I have a
There's
problem
gonna be a
with
lot of
Black
people
Bear,
there anyway, because
because
it's
they're
just,
in competition
Yeah, this is
directly
the
with
one.
you.
there's so much stuff going on up
Oh,
there
yeah.
on that day.
I don't think we care to invite them.
Well, I think they're outside of town. They're not farming any land in town.
Right.
They're not
Yeah.
in town anyway.
And someone who lives in town is farming in land, and I'm comfortable with that.
So how
But when
many
he
people
puts up
have,
his
Well, you
tent,
guys seem pretty comfortable with a guy
they're-
that doesn't live in town
their
but does farm
business.
in town. I
Well,
mean,
you
I
pay
think
taxes.
you-
Their business. We're not counting you.
I'm glad we picked Saturdays, because when I talked to him, we went down there and picked up some hanging plants. When I talked to him,
Oh, they do Putnam.
he said Saturdays are not good, but he can do Sundays. So I drove away saying, well, okay, got rid of that problem.
Well, it's just that originally we had talked about starting
That's
with,
how I am, good thing.
originally,
We're on TV.
But that's kind of a good thing, in a way, what you're saying, because next year when we do the Dudley Farm Days, you really did want to try and do it 2 days. And so if that's true, maybe there will be an instance where some farmers can come on Saturday, some can come on Sunday, they can't do both maybe, and that sort of thing too. And
were we doing it 2 days or 2 different times?
well, you
I've
sounded
said
like,
from the get-go to the Board of Selectmen and the Economic Development Committee that no politicians pick the days. That the farmers in town will pick what days they want to coincide with whatever harvest times they want. So it's entirely up to you folks.
Right, I mean,
not gonna
that's a
be-
question too, like what's gonna be the best time for harvest times? Like,
I
you've
say
got-
let's go with
you've
this
got
and
an
we'll see
early
how it
harvest.
goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's get through one and then go from there.
And then during the
We'll learn a
winter, we
lot
can
from
decide
this.
on.
But what I'm saying is that it's something that got brought up the other night, is that October, a lot of the
Vegetables, it's
vegetables
late.
and things are
It's late,
gone, it's
yeah.
really late. So, maybe next year we should think about, and you were thinking doing it 2 different days, like maybe early planting and then late planting?
But June is
Right.
early.
After.
June is kind of
Well,
early.
So we tie up with
Summer.
the
Summer.
other thing,
Really
maybe
early.
we
It'd
tie
be
up
more
with the
like
strawberry thing.
July.
what are the two
Then
months for
September and
you would be
July,
best?
maybe?
Anything between June and October is okay.
Right.
I wonder
February,
about
not
July and
good.
September. Maybe it's the month in between, July and September.
Slide presentation.
But I think what came up was, let's get this one taken care of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Deal with this one
So,
first.
how are we going,
Jump
yeah.
off the other bridge. we'll
Can
get
I ask a favor?
Yeah.
Can you make it say, visit and shop with our local farmers and vendors and bring seeds for our
Oh, for the
seed
seed
swap?
swap, yes.
And bring what?
Seeds for our seed swap.
We had talked about a
Yeah,
seed,
yeah, you did talk about that.
Lynette came to our planning meeting,
Yeah.
and she had talked about a seed exchange.
Seed swap.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's something that has been done and is quite popular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's already been some
Hey,
talk
you
about
guys
it.
are calling the shots, do what you want to
Somebody
do.
brought that up to me the other day, that they heard that.
But I would say this
So
would
we
be a
need like
good
a-
one to go up
In the
in
stores.
Pocket Shop and
Managers
wherever.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
for
what I
that
was
to
thinking,
happen,
of
right?
putting
And then
this
this would
one
be
up
good to go to the
But like
list
your own
of
tent,
farmers.
to the farmers.
The
Table.
problem
Big
with,
list of
if you
Nothing
do a
fancy,
seed
but-
swap, the problem is that the Kepke's gonna have to bring them in brown balls.
Read it out loud. and then You can read it out loud.
Think about it.
Things in there too, read it all out loud.
We're running, everybody's getting punchy.
Hey, I got some good seeds.
That's a pretty
Liquid nitrogen.
This is all done.
And where was this
Okay.
going?
So this one here, I was thinking if you wanted to make like a banner that goes like across the road, or, you know, use it for some other publication, marketing thing, because it has the past and the future.
It's a neat look.
I don't know if you like
It's
the wording
great, but
on it.
maybe what we're gonna end up doing is putting these on each table or something. I'm
You
just
could.
thinking,
Oh,
I'm thinking of
Could.
expense.
Yeah, there is no
Do
budget.
that. No, but I mean, down the road, we could use this.
Yes.
Once
I
we
like
get
it.
In
some
the
money.
future.
When we get some money. Or if we have a grateful donor of some sort.
So
Yes.
if you can get Dudley up on top
Patreon account.
Okay.
and figure out the size of banner that you want, where you'd want to hang it, and get a price
Okay,
from the guy at the Tinsley Square,
yeah.
all right? And then let me know.
Even if it was just a fairly not huge one, and those sticking metal frames that you put your
Yeah, I can ask him.
your
what he
political
suggests.
signs on,
Yeah, we
Oh,
can make
lawn
signs
signs.
that we can leave
Yeah, we
around,
can do
yeah.
that.
That's
to
cool too.
start with, you know, might not be
See
so
what you can
expensive.
come up with.
Okay.
Because if you did this without a date, then it could be used over and over and over again.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because where I used to work, we used to
Yes,
have like
the
this
commission
vinyl
exists
banner that
as opposed
whenever they go out to a conference or something, they would use, everybody would be able to use it. So there was a lot of use to it.
It would have to be big, because people driving by or under it, that's a
Yeah.
lot to take in.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what I
So the
was
bigger
thinking.
it is, the more impact it'll have. And if you
Yeah.
can use it year after year, that's even better.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking, like on special events, to put it across the road.
I love your work.
Yeah, me too.
Thank
Very
you.
So
good.
are the
So-
old pictures local old pictures?
Oh, yeah.
Because I see Dairy Brothers Milk there.
Yep, I found that one online.
So what
Uh,
church is this?
That's up at Dudley Hill.
That's the Dudley Hill Church?
Is
That's
that the
one
Gra-
up at the top. It
Is that
could
the
be
Grange next to the church?
It could be, I'm not sure.
No,
It
that's
was
the,
off of
that's
the
the old
old-
Methodist church.
On the other side of
Yeah,
the
on the
street?
street, because
Okay.
that's the Black Tavern.
Oh, yeah, the
That
Black
does look
Tavern.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Tavern's
Yeah.
on the same side.
That's
Right.
pretty cool.
The person below that
All
was
right,
the
let's
first
move on here. It's
Dudley
getting late.
blind milk farm, milkman,
Blind,
blind. He was blind,
got a smart horse.
yep.
He's on
So-
foot here.
And then I
So-
put sheep in there and turkeys.
Terrific.
It's
know,
it's great.
So
Any
one of the
other-
one of the other questions was, can we have an account that we can make money and put into and use to do the things that we want to do as a commission?
If you get it in time, yeah, you'd have to wait till the spring.
Oh.
In the
okay.
spring, you can ask to have a revolving account
Okay,
approved.
okay.
And a revolving recount, you can.
When do we start that process?
Well, you want to start it, you want to get it onto the warrant through the town accountant, talk to her, and Debbie Thibodeau, and tell her you're thinking about setting up a revolving fund for the agricultural commission, all right, to generate and to spend, and you want the kind of revolving that can carry over from year to year.
Great. Now, what can we do in the meantime where we're trying to get some money together?
Now, we gotta find some,
Donations.
what do they call somebody?
Benefactor.
A benefactor?
Benefactor.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like at the, for example,
Okay.
at your function is put out
Put a
donation.
can, put a
cans.
little jar on.
Right,
milk
and
can.
then, yeah, because I know that we're gonna sell the fairy gardens, and so it would be nice if we can make some money, and then we can say, hey, we have this much money now, and we can, you know,
But
we
you
can
have to
start
decisions
to.
about
good
where
eye
to
on
put
those
it,
You did
donations,
mention,
so.
Paul, that if they
Yeah, you have
came
to
with
keep a track of all the
a
donations and
figure,
everything, right?
what it was gonna
Right.
cost to get
If someone
that,
gives
Yep.
you like a actual,
let you
hey,
know
I'm
what it
gonna
was.
give you 5,000 or something,
Okay.
yeah,
you hear that?
yeah. No,
So
I'm sorry.
if you get a figure together, give it to Paul for the fairy garden.
Mm-hmm.
I already brought some stuff home from the Cape, seashells
Did you?
and stuff.
I did some
And
things too.
it's, some of that stuff is cheap, you know?
Yeah,
And unfortunately, I've said it on camera.
Multiple times. huh?
It is.
What were you thinking, Paul?
So, give that to him.
We
as
know
soon as
people
possible.
with deep pockets.
okay.
Anything else on logos and goals?
Yeah, any other changes so I can make them, and then what I'll do is I'll email it out to everybody, so you'll
Well, I
have a
think
copy.
I want to check with my wife, because she's really good at this kind of stuff, so maybe at the next meeting or something, we can talk about it. Just like that. Does that sound reasonable?
Well, we wanna get these out, like,
Oh, no, I don't mean like this stuff.
Not all.
I mean
but-
just this one.
Yeah.
yeah,
This
the big one?
Just, yeah, this,
Yeah.
yeah. This one here.
Well, she was
this
gonna
is fine.
actually go make a banner, or
Yeah, I was gonna ask
find
about
out how
banners
much
Yeah.
it
and
would be.
stuff.
This is fine. These are good. These are good.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are good.
And then,
On the
the letterhead,
letterhead, is it possible to get our phone numbers or
I can.
email accounts?
whatever you want on there, I
I
can put it
think should
underneath.
be
the-
on the
Oh, that would be a
letterhead.
good idea, yes,
Or yours, anyway.
yes.
Or at
Oh.
least the
I want my
chairman.
email.
Okay, I'll put email,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
because
put
that's
your
less
email, that's the easiest,
okay.
invasive.
You
Yep.
can
Okay,
put my
add
phone
those.
there too, though,
if you want.
for this chairman. Next chairman might not want it on, but,
Okay.
well, I'm just thinking, if somebody in town's got an issue and
Well, I
wants to
got the
know
generic town number down
something
at the
quick,
bottom.
and where do I go, give me a call.
Right.
Yeah, I've got the generic town number down at the bottom.
Right, but I meant
So-
up where it says chairman, you could put
Yeah,
my
I
cell
can put
phone.
that up there.
Yep,
Do you want that
yes,
generic town number on the bottom?
No,
Okay.
okay.
because
Nobody
if
in
people
town
call that
wants
number, they're not gonna find the agricultural commission with an extension.
Yeah, so
So
I
I
don't know.
wouldn't do it until or unless we get an extension.
Okay, so I'll leave that off. Put your email and phone number, and then again, I'll send this out to everybody, so if you have to send, on the committee, if you have to send out a letter or something, you can just go
Just
right
grab it.
in, type it, and
That'd be great.
PDF it,
Excellent.
and blast it off.
You're hired.
Ne-
Yeah,
Next item
Excellent.
is
excellent.
right to farm signs.
I haven't had a chance to go do some more pricing on signs. I'll go down to that Tinsley Square graphics place
Yeah.
there. When I get a chance, I did check with the Janet Mauser grant, see if we could get some money for these signs. Because I thought, because under agriculture, it might qualify, but it doesn't, so. We gotta.
Yeah,
find-
and if we get anything done by that guy at Tinsley Square, make sure you tell him it's for a town committee, a town commission. Because he said he will discount no matter what you get.
Okay.
Lawn
All right,
signs
I'll-
and banners.
I've been busy with land trust stuff, so I
Yeah,
haven't really had a
yeah.
chance to get.
Okay?
Just on those signs though, even this thing would look cool. I'm trying to think of what other towns have, like, I know Rutland has just like silhouette of a cow and maybe a fence or something like
So
that.
simple?
So it's something, it's
Simple.
simple, it's just a simple
which one?
graphic.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that would be
kind
nice.
of
The
a
barn,
logo.
you know,
Yeah.
it's sort of, you know, goes with it, but it's not quite so involved
Yeah,
as the picture
you
was.
can't make it too busy, because
Because people aren't gonna really see
you gotta have
it.
access
Yeah,
on
you
the
can only
road.
do it for
For
certain
those,
things,
for the
yeah.
right to farm ones.
Yes.
We may
Right
have
to
to
crash into a
remove those
tree.
aliens on the right of the
Yeah.
barn.
Corn stalks.
No, the barn and the corn stalks, I
Corn
like.
stalks.
Yeah,
I like the
that.
barn and
Yeah, that
the
is nice.
stalks.
Yeah, if it
Little
shows up
little
on all the
cow
stuff.
Next to it? Okay.
Well, you don't even have to have a cow.
Right.
And I.
Put a chicken.
I can put a chicken, a chicken and a rooster.
Yeah,
On under 5 acres of land?
yeah, on a little tiny
Rooster on top of the
farm.
barn.
Yeah, in a little tiny, in the backyard.
Actually, I could put it on a cupola.
Yeah.
Put a rooster on top of a cupola on top of the barn.
You guys have really done a lot of work. I
Oh.
like the way this group goes. It is going.
Smart Alex. On Right to Farm, did anybody else see on Facebook, the Southbridge Agricultural Commission did a video in somebody's hayloft talking about their right, because they're still trying to draft a Right to Farm bylaw and make it like really personal.
Who is it?
Southbridge Agricultural Commission.
Really?
Look them up on Facebook.
Oh, good for them.
I didn't
That's-
watch the whole thing, sadly, because I
Huh.
just
That was
didn't,
a
but I
good
saw
idea,
it,
though.
so.
That was a good idea.
They do a lot of stuff on Facebook, they put a lot of stuff up, so that can be our next
Yeah.
Facebook
foray, yeah.
Next thing on the agenda is events, Deadly Farm Days, which we've pretty much talked about all night, so.
So Paul, we need to sign up with you, right?
Just a telephone call or a phone message or an email. All right? That's
Okay.
all it takes.
Who do you have committed so far?
I don't know, there's 5.
Good.
And I know that through Facebook, I think, or something, there's an invite, and 6 people have said that they're going.
Oh, going, right.
But that's not
Yeah.
vendors.
But we were talking about people who are
Vending.
gonna be vending.
4, 5
Okay.
still.
Does that include any of us?
Nobody contacted me to tell me you're gonna be there.
Are you going?
Yeah, I gotta talk Katie into doing a load for me, but yeah.
I'm going.
Karen, it would be good to get this on to the Dudley Range.
So there's 3 people here that will
Okay.
be setting up?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and
My
the
friend's
Facebook.
husband.
I'll have a seat swap table.
We'll talk about it Tuesday.
I have an
Tuesday night.
extra, easy up
Good,
on it.
good idea.
Yeah.
It's not as pretty as my market one. It's my old one.
Somebody, we gotta get in touch with the cheese lady.
I can.
She was interested.
Yeah,
I see her,
yes.
I see her all the
Responded
time.
Would you do that?
Good
Yeah.
cheese, too.
Good.
You see
Because
the
I want
ad
some
she,
of those
she put in
seeds,
the, with the flyer there, it's pretty.
The crewette?
Oh, yes, in the Smart Shopper or something.
Yeah, 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 that was,
And I'll talk with, I'll talk with, who's, right up at the top of Dudley, Southbridge Road, and 131 North. 31 North. Joe.
Antos?
Antos.
Oh,
Oh,
Because his
You know,
wife
his wife
does,
has honey.
she's got plenty of hives, and she's got the lip balm, which lasts
don't you sell
forever.
her stuff? Is that United stuff you sell?
what's that?
That's
You
Joe
sell
Antos's
Unitas?
wife.
Yeah, Ginny.
Yeah.
Honey? No? You don't?
It's not our.
There's some
Is it
competitive honey
Jane's?
on the hill anyway.
It's not Jane's, is it?
Because the
Antos?
tavern has 2 honey
I get
people,
it.
we had a honey
Okay.
person last year.
It's local.
Yeah, we gotta get
So
people
honey
up
is
there.
okay. Like, let the honey people compete.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because at the
That counts.
public forum,
They all have something different to
there was
offer.
a gentleman there, who's not gonna come up with his name right now, but he has a lot of hives also, so, you know. And Linda has gotten a friend of hers to come and do a fancy carving on a pumpkin that people could come and watch him do.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or, you know,
real
we can
artist?
raffle it off, or,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
do whatever somebody wants.
Now, you've got
Highest
eggs,
bidder.
you've got free-range
Yeah.
eggs.
I don't have a ton of eggs right now unless my new hens start laying,
But
which
you
they
bring-
should by
You
then.
bring them in. Are they,
No,
are
there are
they your own
chickens.
chickens?
Yeah.
How many chickens you got?
Well, now we have 125, but only 50 of them, well, not even 50 of them are
What the
laying,
hell are the others doing?
hanging out. Some of them are coming. We just got 75 new ones.
All right, so we'll have free range.
Hanging out.
And they're not technically free range. They're not hen, not
Not caged.
not caged.
Not
They're
caged.
cage-free. Yeah, well, cage-free.
K-tree.
And they do get to do chicken things in the evening.
Your goal is to have how many dozen eggs a week?
Chicken dance.
Enlighten us. Our goal is to have, yeah, a bunch.
Okay. Because we don't, I mean, that's something that we really need in town. A lot
Well,
of
we
people
like
want
chicken
it.
size, but
Yep.
we-
Something else that we talked about at the planning meeting was the fairy garden.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna try to set up a hay maze
oh,
Uh,
a little one.
over to the side of the parking lot of the church. I need someone to get in touch with the church to see if we can use that.
Yeah, I'll send a letter to
You'll
the
do that?
deacons.
The
Thank you.
DJ?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The trustees or deacons, I forget right now, but yeah,
And
we'll send a
I
letter.
plan to do hay rides.
Be nice if you had a maze that ended right going into the church. I bet the church would like that.
Well, we
I
were
don't know,
thinking
people
about
talk
how
about
they
the
have
hay
it right
right
in
to
the
Oh, there you go, there you go.
Sounds more
Gotta
fun.
think
Yes,
these things all the
yes.
way through, you know?
You
Something
do.
else I thought, I haven't talked to them, but the environmental science teacher at Shepherd Hill, Justin Savageau, and Ray Sullivan do like soil sampling.
I sent Ray an email.
Did you?
And I haven't heard back from him, but because I know
You
at
can
one
reach out to
time the
him,
Envirothon team set up something for like Old Home
Even if they had
Day.
the kids do it, yeah.
Yeah, so I emailed him about it, but I haven't, I'll pester him again.
They just did some soil sampling for us for farm stuff, because Justin's really into that sort of
Really?
thing. And they bounced some stuff off of us for Envirothon stuff for the kids in years past.
That
So,
sounds great, actually.
if they just want to have a table just talking about what they're doing.
That's
yeah.
great.
Well, anyone with a garden should be interested.
Right. And I don't know how much business they really want, but they keep increasing their level of soil testing.
Let me ask you, what about Paul Benenda? Who just, he bought a flower shop wholesaler in Worcester on Grafton Street, and he's a Dudley resident, and he just bought his own vans to deliver flowers to various florists and people who cater things and whatnot. Is that somebody that you want here?
Does he grow
He
flowers?
doesn't grow them, though.
I don't think he grows them, I think he wholesales.
Yeah.
Do you have someone that comes sell flowers?
We got someone?
No, not that I'm aware of. I'm not
Our
handling the
flowers are
vans
done,
vendors.
so you forget it.
Yeah, I just.
You
I
don't
All
have
of
a
my
flower.
sunflowers have
We do
petals.
flowers, but we don't do a good job
Okay.
taking care of them, so they're all done.
If you wanted to do something along that lines, I have a cousin who does the best flowers arrangements.
I'm just thinking, if, you know,
And I could get in touch with her and see what a price would be.
Well, just
So
use,
you
let's just
got
want like
fresh-
bundles of flowers,
So
somebody
fresh
could just
cut
grab
flowers.
grab a
Don't use
bundle
it.
out of a bucket or something. and,
Yeah.
take it
No,
home.
Yeah.
no.
That's
a
Well,
great
me-
idea,
neither-
Paul.
Arrangements
He
are
lives in
kind of
Dudley, the
like,
other guy,
Oh,
but his business
gotcha.
isn't.
that's specialty,
Doesn't live in
like,
Dudley. This one,
They need
someone
that
who
for a
lives in
funeral.
Dudley. so-
Paul does. I
Yeah,
mean, we could ask
like
him,
fresh
Yeah.
cut
just
bouquets.
put
Well, this
bunches
guy
of
lives
cut
in
flowers
Dudley.
together.
just
Yeah.
cut
Has a
flowers.
place in
Yeah,
Worcester.
that's a
But,
good
you know,
idea.
That's what I said.
I
But
tell you,
That's a
getting
good
to
idea.
October, that's kind of late though, too.
it is
For fresh
getting
cut
late,
flowers,
but
yeah. How about
at
dried
my farm
flowers?
You never know, you
stands,
could get a
we
frost.
sell a lot of flowers. We sell them,
Really?
with just small mixed
Yep.
flowers, whatever
People
is
love it.
blooming that week. $5,
Mums.
they fly
usually
out.
around that
Yeah,
point.
Zinnias, sunflowers,
Mums gotta have
snapdragons, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Deb,
They
you
go.
did sunflowers. Do you have fall flowers or dried stuff?
Where do you
I
go
don't have
there?
dry stuff this year. I will next year.
In the
but
field,
I
we have
don't.
4 rows out of our 160
I have lots
rows
of
that we
cut
did it for
flowers, yeah.
flowers.
Are they still good?
I never saw pictures of that.
Probably not.
So, we need to move
We're
on
busy.
here because I know for one person, our secretary gets up very early for work. Are you going to work tomorrow?
No, I have to.
Oh,
Yay.
keep going.
That's okay.
No.
A little longer.
We gotta be getting close here,
So,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
any other discussion
I'll
on
ask you
Dudley
something
Farm
when we
Day?
get
Okay, no problem.
Just that we have a lot up in the air still, so we need to
We need another
Tighten
planning
it
meeting,
down, yeah.
like a
Yeah. like-
Okay, how do we do that?
We have
Suggest,
another meeting at your house,
okay.
Yes.
not on Tuesday,
Monday or Wednesday.
What day can you come?
Monday or Wednesday.
Well, we got, what, 3 weeks, right? So the best, sooner the better.
Next
Yeah.
week.
Next week.
So-
All right, so I'm probably gonna be in Maine on Monday, but I know I can do Wednesday.
I can't do this Monday, but I can do Wednesday.
So Wednesday, okay.
Wednesday.
So Wednesday, my house at 7?
Sounds good.
What's the date?
The 11th?
I'm excited as to how this is gonna look when it's done, with all the new things.
Just, let's not have any rain.
Anyway.
No rain.
Or snow.
No.
Do we have some way to
Oh.
handle that?
Well, if anybody, you know anybody that can manage that, that'd be
Wednesdays
great.
this
What's
year.
that?
It rains every Wednesday, but other than that, it's
Oh,
not.
Oh, no.
Because
Well, we can
I'm
plan
at a
on it.
farmer's market on Wednesdays and
it rains.
every
We've had a
week.
few soggy
Remember one year
apple
It
festivals.
snowed every Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
3
what?
feet.
Yeah,
Wow.
God bless you people.
Mother
Any-
Nature.
Any new business?
Noah has some new business that he would like me to read to everybody, if you all don't mind.
Go ahead.
He found this, somebody found it for, or
I was
had
talking
it.
to somebody about me being on the commission, and they found a clipping for me that I think is important and maybe something that we can include in the mission statement.
So, well, the mission statement's completed, but still, so if everybody doesn't mind, I'll read this out loud, do the best I can here. This is Chester T. Kalisa,
Yeah.
not Kalisa.
Yeah,
He was
check
95 years old.
Yeah.
This is his obituary.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it fit what we're doing here. Dudley, Chester T. Kalisa, 95, passed away peacefully with family at his side on Monday, June 24th, 2019. He was born in Dudley on April 16th, 1924, a son of Peter and Michelina Gwizadowski. Sorry if I don't get this right. Kalisa, and was raised on the dairy farm that he operated with his brother Benny through the 1990s. He attended a one-room schoolhouse and then graduated from Bartlett High School in Webster in 1942. He studied at the Stockbridge School of Agriculture at the University of Massachusetts, and after various jobs at dairies, I think it says dairies around the state, he started working for the United States Department of Agriculture as a soil conservationist. He devoted 35 years of his life helping Worcester County farmers and conservation districts. He was very active in 4-H and was instrumental in growing Camp Marshall and the Buck Hill Conservation Center, both in Spencer. After retiring, he served as the town of Dudley health inspector. In 1969, Chester married Ann T. Harrington Tierney, a widow with 6 young children from North Brookfield, and brought them to his farm in Dudley, which became an American youth hostel and international host exchange site. Many travelers and students from all corners of the globe were welcomed at the family table. Chet and Ann were members of the International Center of Worcester, the Black Tavern Historical Society, and the Worcester Horticultural Society. His proudest accomplishment was the founding and fostering of the Dudley Land Trust, which has successfully protected open space in his hometown. He loved working alongside others to save natural areas for the future. Chet and Ann also served as agricultural liaisons for the USDA in foreign countries after the collapse of the Soviet Union, helping farmer cooperatives in Russia, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Kazakhstan. Mr. Kulisa it's Kulisa, isn't it?
Yes.
Was
Okay.
predeceased by his wife, Anne, in 2014, by his brothers Joseph and Benjamin, and by his sisters Angela Forand and Helen Sinney. He is survived by his children, Lynn Tierney of Charlotte, North Carolina, John Tierney and his wife, Ghislaine of Hania, Crete Joe Tierney and his wife, Ruth of Dudley, Maggie Acorn of North Brookfield, Tim Tierney and his wife, Shelley of St. Johnsbury, Vermont, and Martha Tierney of Dudley. He will be greatly missed by his grandchildren, Amy, Matt, and John Acorn, and...
I know what you got. You know what?
Yeah.
There is not a farmer in Dudley who was not directly, was not directly influenced by Chet Kulisa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to
Seems
say
so.
that the majority of farmers in Worcester County took his advice at one time or another. He was a cool guy.
He was at our first meeting at the Grange.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
I remember.
Yep.
I remember
I will
too.
miss him. I used to visit him like once a month or so. And he was always
you.
after me for something.
Thank you.
He had an opinion, he wasn't afraid to share it. You gotta love
He's one
that.
of the people that you can honestly say, in every aspect, that he left the world a better place the day he got there. And he did it in so many ways. You know? He was a good man.
So a good example that hopefully as a agricultural commission, we can leave Dudley a better right to farm place. Any other input, new business, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.